Hi, and welcome to the Crit Hit Wild podcast, where we cover all things Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we do a new character every week. This week, we're going to be talking about Maximus the Mad, and I'm your host, Fred.
I'm Brad.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Steven.
Good evening, folks. How are the three of you doing? How are you doing today, Brad?
I'm doing fine, just a little sleepy.
Yeah, that's understandable. How about you, Brandon?
I am good. I am also sleepy, but that's because I have not done a single thing today.
That's fine. How about you, Steven? How are you doing?
I'm fine. I like to remember my two wonderful co-hosts that not everybody can be sleepy dwarfs, so one of you has to change.
I can be
Yeah,
grumpy if we want.
Okay. Yeah. Not everybody can be sleepy.
Well, I am doing all right. It has been a long day, but I'm okay. I'm doing fine. Let's move to the upcoming tournaments. So there is a tournament at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston on February the 15th. So if you are interested and are in the area, come on down. This will be a small affair. There won't be very many of us there, I think. So we need as many people as we can get. Yeah, come on down. We need more players. Then coming up the next Saturday after that, on February the 22nd, will be a tournament at Fabricators Forge in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That is Bryce's shop, and he's running the tournament. And he always runs a real good show. It's a real good tournament. So head on down to that one if you are in the area and want to play some games against some very good opponents.
If they came to ours, they wouldn't be playing good opponents, Fred. Thanks.
Well, they would be playing against me, and I'm terrible.
No, you're not.
So,
Hey, Fred,
yeah.
to advertise your tournament a little bit more, you might want to tell them what happens after somebody attends your tournaments.
What? Wait, what happens after
Mr. Don Squires, who visited us from Maryland?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, why don't you say tell what he said to you?
Well, Mr. Don Squires visited us, and more specifically, your area for a tournament that I attended. He's from the Maryland area around Baltimore. Great person. And since that tournament, where he met us all, he's been doing very, very well with his Sentinels list, and now is ranked third in Longshanks as the third best player on that platform.
Well, technically second because nobody's in first.
Correct.
Nobody has 500 rankings in Sentinels, but he's very close.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Don.
Yeah, I hope you get it, Don.
You're gonna be the first person in first when you crack 500.
Yeah, so come on down to the West Virginia tournament so you can be better later in your MCP career.
Yeah, we were a good training tournament, is what he's saying. On coming up the following month on March the 15th is the final BECC qualifying tournament. That is going to be at Missing Falls Brewery in Akron, Ohio, for the Akron Brew Brawl. I will be in attendance. It is very likely that Brad will be in attendance.
Yes.
I'm hoping that Borka will be present. So we shall see who all shows up. But that is going to be a big event, and I'm looking forward to it enormously.
Brandon should also come.
Peer pressure, Brandon.
Where am I coming?
To the Akron Brew Brawl in March.
I am trying to be able to attend, but it is, with everything going on, it is slightly unlikely at this point.
Boo. Okay. Well, we hope to see you, and if we don't, then that would be a shame. But those are the tournaments that I know of that are taking place in the near future. If you have any tournaments that you want me to shout out, send us a message, and I will shout it out. There is some news out of AMG. They released now the rest of the models and tactics cards out of the Inhumans box that's coming out. I forget what the name of that box is. But it's
Royal Family.
The Inhuman Royal Family. There are some character-specific tactics cards, but there are also some Inhumans generic cards that we should probably discuss, since this is a perfect time to do it. We're talking about Maximus the Mad. Hey, Brad, do you have any of those pulled up right now?
Sure. In Homo Supremus. This is an Inhumans reactive card. During the power phase, an Inhumans character can spend 4 to play this card. This round, while an allied Inhumans character is making an attack within range 3 of one or more other allied Inhumans characters, when it uses the Inhuman superpower to reroll dice, it may reroll 1 additional die for its attack roll.
Okay, so this is something that affects all Inhumans.
Yes.
And if they're close to each other, range 3 is actually that's not super close.
Yep.
They can be, and it makes their onboard reroll twice as good
for only attacks, not defense. But that's good.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's it is expensive. 4 power is quite expensive.
It's a lot, but this is a faction that gets power pretty well. Lockjaw builds power well.
That's right, Lockjaw.
Karnak, who we've not talked about, builds power well. So
I think this is a pretty useful card for Inhumans. This is something that Inhumans would like to play. Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts here, Brandon?
I don't know if Inhumans actually have a bad tactics card.
Yeah,
I think they've hit on all of them, and none of them are like broken, but like they're all just like good and good enough for sure. The next one is also rather good, so like it's just I think they've just done a really good job on these, like, and they're different. Like they're all like kind of, they're not like other cards we have for the most part, so.
Right. I like where they're really using the space with their tactics cards. Steven, what do you have any thoughts on this one?
A reroll is not bad. I mean, the only caveat that I have, like you said, it costs 4 powers, and it does take one of your tactics card slots. So yeah. Innately, Inhumans always have a reroll. Those who are true Inhumans, I should say, not people like Quicksilver or Beast, obviously, who are part of this faction. But no, I mean, you won't be sad to take it, but I think it might just get squeezed out by some other cards that you would use.
Yeah, you would use this if you had an open slot in your tactics card roster.
Yeah.
Now, if it was like Convocation and you had 6 card slots, I mean, you might take it, but
yeah,
it's hard to fit it. It's hard to fit in the 5. Is basically what I'm saying.
I think it easily makes the 10, though.
Yeah.
All right, so there's another one that we should talk about. That one is called the Great Refuge. I can do this one. Okay. It is an Inhumans specific card. It is active. An Inhumans character with an active leadership ability may spend any amount of power to play this card. For each 2 power spent to play this card, choose an allied Inhumans character without an objective token. Place each chosen character within range 3 of its current location. I like this as well. This is nice. It's the ability to move people around the map, and it can be anyone on the map. Put them where you where you need to put them. This can happen in the middle of a turn or at the very end of a turn, and it doesn't have to be the characters with the active leadership abilities activation. It can just be on your activation. You can move people around. This is really good. And it's only 2 power to move someone range 3. That's like
I
usually those.
I doubt you're getting more than one character most of the time.
You're probably right, and especially like your characters with active leadership superpowers probably want their power.
Yeah.
But I think this is great, actually. Like, how often do you find your people are have been pushed off of points or pushed out of position to be effective for the game, and you can just use this at any point during the activation phase when you are the active player and move people around. I think that's fantastic. Brad, what do you think about this?
I think it's pretty good. I like the other one better, but that might say more about me as a player than anything else.
How about you, Stephen? What do you think about this one?
Oh, I think this is a good candidate to possibly make your 5.
I think so too. I think this one is better than the previous one. Personally, that's just my own personal feelings.
This is the snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, basically. Because this could be a huge play at an end of a round. I see.
Yeah.
I see you can get points or deny points with this card very easily.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You could also use it to play extra cagey. Like, you could keep your people back from the main conflict areas or out of range and wait until late in the activation phase and then move them onto the points they need to be on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. Okay, Brandon, what are your thoughts here on this card?
The exact same as the last card.
As in, good?
It's good. He agrees they do not have a bad card.
You're right.
Yeah, it's just right in line. I do think this one's better than the last one, because it's, to me, the best way you look at this is 2 power to move someone within range 3, bringing someone into the fight, moving someone onto a point at the end of a round. I think those are going to be used. I don't know how often, because the 2 leaders you're going to be playing are going to be Black Bolt and Medusa. Black Bolt wants to use his power, and Medusa also likes to use her power. So, I don't know how often you're going to be saving up, a ton of, power. Getting power is not hard for them, but, they're also just not necessarily an affiliation that is actively trying to, use all their power. Because the 2 leaders, like I said, Medusa's probably the one you would use it the most on, but when you take Medusa, you're already down a tactics card. So you're choosing this between 4 of your 2 restricted cards, and then you have, you still have Terrigenesis, you have Human Royal Family, you have Atlian Rising, and if you're taking Lockjaw, you have Last Minute Save. If you're taking either of the new 3s, you have Royal Guardians. It's going to be kind of tough. It's going to be a little bit situational, I think. But I think both of them are. They're definitely cards you're going to have and play, but it's going to be one that's, you're probably playing it mostly under Black Bolt. And I don't know how much I love spending a ton of power off of Black Bolt, especially once he gets dazed, because you're trying to
whispers.
Yeah, you're trying to whisper. Being able to master punch in the whisper, and that leaves you no power left over to do this if you had 10 to start with. So you've got to be kind of a little situational. I think it's best under Black Bolt. It's probably only going to see play under Medusa, So it's just kind of weird because they do have so many good cards. Um, it's just going to
I'd
be
like to
interesting.
clarify. There is a new leadership ability that it could be used under.
That doesn't
And it is
exist.
for the it is for the character we are going to cover today. But we will discuss that later in this episode, I think. But yeah, I think that these are good. These are both good cards.
That is a
And
correct statement. It is by far the best under the leadership that I have refused to mention and will
yes,
refuse to acknowledge.
it is by far the best under that leadership. Okay. I think we should move on. Those are some good cards, and that is all that we've got out of AMG this week. So, moving right along, does anyone have any games they want to discuss that they've played recently?
I did not play this week.
Okay. How about you, Steven? Did you play any games this week?
Yeah, but I only got one in, and it was against Josh's son Elliot. So it wasn't anything big. I was playing Spider Foes, and they did Spider Foe things, tricks and traps, traps and tricks. I was going against Star Lord with the new Yondu and Nova.
Ooh.
And by the time the game was done, the only person that was left on the table was Yondu because I couldn't get to him. He was too far away.
Okay. So you killed everything.
Cosmic Ghost Rider, Nova, Star Lord, Two Threat Black Widow, and yeah, that's who I eliminated off the table.
Wow. Okay.
Green Goblin's just good at attrition. That's what he does.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
I played 2 games this week against Borka. In my first game, Borka is playing Cabal, and his crises are bad for me. In his extracts, he has Research Station, which is terrible, and Fear Grips, the Hammers one, which is also terrible for me. And in his secures, he has Gamma Wave, which is terrible. So I'm here thinking, there's no way that I'm ever gonna do Gamma Wave on 15 because I'm just gonna pick my secures if I win priority, or I'll pick a non-15 threat value if I lose priority. So I win priority, and I look at his crises, and I think to myself, 2 out of 3 of his secures are fine. I'll take a gamble, and I will pick his secures. I bet everyone out there cannot guess what secure I pick. It is, of course, Gamma, and we play on Gamma on 15. And I get my butt handed to me pretty handily. I played 5 wide at 15, and he played Hulk, Red Skull, and Ultron, and he just annihilated me. I did not stand a chance in this game. We did play a second game, and in the second game, we played using 2 of the new crises. We played. Oh, I forget what they're called. I forget which ones it was, but it was the one where the secure is the pay to flip. The one that's there. It's a B, but it's not quite the same as a B. And the extract we did was the one that is a D, where if you have all of your models who are holding the extract within range 2 of a secure, you score an additional victory point. This game was much, much closer. In fact, I almost won this game. I lost this game 18-15, and had I played the final turn a little bit differently, or actually the turn before the final turn, I would have gotten 16 victory points instead of 15, and I would have won the game. I just made a minor mistake in my planning. I thought that it's not that important, but I misplayed Spider-Woman. Instead of trying to use her spender to move Red Skull off of a point, I went out and tried to kill Zemo, which was probably the wrong move. So, oh well. It was a learning experience, and those two crises were a lot better for Web Warriors than the first one that I played. Okay, those were the games that I played recently. I'm assuming, Brandon, you do not have any games that you've played recently?
I haven't played since we played.
Okay, right. Well then, let's move right along to Brad's trivia game. Hey, Brad.
I sure do have a trivia game for you, Fred.
Oh, okay.
I have found out recently from comments people have been leaving that people love this segment. We got so many comments on the episode where we skipped it because we had the long tournament report about not forgetting about the trivia. We didn't forget about the trivia. We cut it for time. But trivia's back. So this is how the trivia game works. I ask Fred questions about the comics that the Marvel Crisis Protocol characters come from. Fred has read very few of the comics, and he has to guess who it is. If he gets it right with the first hint, he gets 3 points. If he gets it right with the second hint, he gets 2 points. If he has to go to help from the peanut gallery, he gets 1 point. And he needs 6 points to win. Let's get started. This character was originally planned to be a creation of another character's to help them navigate the criminal underworld and strike fear. That plan was abandoned after others worked on the character and gave them a different origin. This character first mentioned was during the Mutant Massacre, where Sabretooth and the Marauders are hired by this character to kill the mutants living in the New York sewers, called the Morlocks. This character was also instrumental in accidentally releasing the Legacy virus, a virus that kills mutants, when this character opened a container containing a virus because they thought that it contained genetic material they coveted.
Okay. Okay, so there's a couple things here. One, they are a creation, or they were created initially as a how did you phrase it in the first? It made it sound like
the character
they were a created being.
Was originally planned to be a creation of another character's.
Right. So it's an artificial being, or and there's clearly something in there that is supposed to make me think that it's Mr. Sinister, and I feel like that's a trap. The fact that it's they're after genetic samples that they covet, and I feel like that's something Brad threw in there to make me say Mr. Sinister without it actually being Mr. Sinister. Is this? Is this? And it's to... I want to say it's Arnim Zola. Boy, am I overthinking this? That's not correct. It's definitely not Arnim Zola. He's like a Swiss... But it could be because he changed. I'm going to say Arnim Zola.
That is incorrect. This character has been meddling around for a while and has his hand in all sorts of pots. This character convinces Grigory Rasputin to father many children, promising him that they will be powerful. Yes, the historical figure, Fred. Just making that clear.
Okay.
Colossus, Magic, and their reality-warping brother, Mikkel, are products of this manipulation. This character also gave powers to Jacob Shaw, father of Sebastian Shaw, and gave the future High Evolutionary the genetic material needed to start his descent to madness. This character also implants a secret failsafe copy of themselves in the minds of Charles Xavier, Kane Marco, and Sebastian Shaw. In case of this character's death, one of the copies would activate, and this character would take over the host body.
Okay, this is definitely Mr. Sinister then. I was a fool and I was trying to play the game and instead of actually following the clues that you gave me, and that was on me. This is Mr. Sinister.
This is Mr. Sinister. Yeah, that was a double
Okay.
bluff. The
Yeah.
genetic material.
Uh-huh.
Because I've trapped
Yeah.
you so many times that I was like, maybe this will be so obvious.
Yeah, you made it too obvious, and it made me double think it. Darn it.
All right. So you've got 2 points, Fred. You're 1/3 of the way there. You just have to get the other 2 on your own, or
Okay.
or nail one and get help.
Okay, we'll see if I can even do any of that.
This character put in motion a plan to replace Medusa as Queen of the Inhumans, seeing her as an unfit leader, with Moon Girl, the smartest person on Earth, even though she's only 9. To do this, this character gives over their only son to Dark Beast for experimentation and ends up working for Black Bolt's son's business, arranging to take over the whole business and tries to give it to Moon Girl. Moon Girl does not appreciate these manipulations and declines becoming the new Inhuman ruler.
Oh boy. Okay, so this is all right. Inhumans that did you use the female pronoun for this character, or did you call them they?
It was neutral the whole way through.
Neutral.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm remembering when we did Crystal. You referred to Crystal as a sloppy bitch.
I did.
Or something
That's
like
accurate.
that. But that's probably not related to not liking Medusa's leadership.
Do you know the relationship between Medusa and Crystal? I'm just curious.
You probably have told me, but I do not know the answer. I don't know that.
They are
question.
sisters.
They're sisters. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. Is this? Oh boy. So someone who does not think that Medusa is doing a good job as the queen of the. Could this be Beast? I'm gonna say Beast.
That is a great answer. That is incorrect.
Okay. Boo.
This character's powers come from intense training at the Tower of Wisdom. In the war between the X-Men and Inhumans, this character is trapped inside a mind cage but manages to break free. This character then finds himself in the world, which is a pocket dimension where time works differently, and they create super weapons. The world creates super weapons, not this character. Just want to make sure that's clear. And this character must fight their way out of there as well. All of this was a delaying tactic since this character's opponents knew they could not stop this character for long.
Oh, feces. I vaguely remember this being a talking point about a pocket dimension where they were making super weapons.
It has come up and in various things we've talked about. So
yeah. But I don't know who this is, and I'm stuck on the Inhumans train, and it may not be an Inhuman. Could it possibly be they were stuck, and their enemies put them into the world as a delaying tactic? Could this be? I keep saying that, and then second guessing myself. I'm gonna guess that this is Maximus the Mad.
that is incorrect.
Okay, that was a wild guess.
Steven or Brandon, can either of you help out our boyfriend?
I've got no clue. None at all. Brandon?
What was the second hint again?
His powers come from intense training at the Tower of Wisdom. In the X-Men Inhumans War, they were trapped in a mind cage, broke out. Then they were trapped in the world, and then they escaped that as well. And all of that was just a delaying tactic since they knew they couldn't stop this character for long.
I mean, I can guess someone. I don't know if it's relevant.
Well, we got
I
nothing
don't know if
right
Steven
now.
has a. I don't know if Steven has a better guess.
He did not.
No, I am totally lost on this one.
I'm gonna go with. All right, then I'll just guess. I'm gonna go Karnak. That's the way. Karnak's the one who's the smart one, right? Not. Yeah.
Yes.
Not Gorgon, yeah.
Yeah. Karnak. That's the one I want.
Okay. Karnak is correct.
Okay.
He is not. He does not have inhuman powers. He is just highly trained, and trained to the point where he sees the flaw in anything. So the X-Men knew that they could not come up with a plan that he could not unravel. So they just tried to slow him down for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's the smartest member of the Inhumans.
Well, no,
And-
that would be Moon Girl, because she's the smartest
Yeah.
person on the planet, even though she's only
He's the
9.
smartest. He's the smartest Inhuman that we have in the game.
Okay, maybe,
That's-
yeah.
That's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
I
that
can't-
guess was just pure luck. That's
I
the only reason I.
Cannot wait till we get Moon Girl riding Devil Dinosaur in the game. That's going to be such a cool model.
Will not happen.
I bet it will.
All right, so when we're playing this game in 2049,
No,
I will
she
agree
is-
with that.
I think, Steven, you are drastically underestimating how popular of a character that is. Her comic books
Maybe.
sell so well.
Maybe so.
Okay.
Well, you got to get this first try, Fred. Good luck.
Yeah, Fred. All right. It's all on the line here, Fred. This character helped turn Earth into a galactic prison where space prisoners were sent to live and contained on the surface. Earth was not told about this. Later, this character's son attends the Jean Grey School under Headmaster Wolverine. That's it.
Okay. All right. So their son appears to be a mutant, which makes me think that they themselves are a mutant. They signed up Earth to be a galactic prison.
They forced Earth to be a galactic prison without telling anyone on Earth.
Okay.
And then just
And-
dropped
and
a
just-
bunch of convicts on the surface. And
Okay. Okay. And so they are probably a mutant, and they are spacey. Maybe because they have connections with something with galactic powers that could have prisoners to drop on Earth. And they have a son who is who attends school under Wolverine. Oh, they're so... I have no idea, man. There's no way I'm getting this on the first try. So I'm going to say Emma Frost.
what a bad guess. That is incorrect.
Okay.
Your hit. This character was the only member of his race to revolt against his world's leaders after being asked by the Empress. This character is rewarded by being made the leader of the Royal Guard and head bodyguard of the Empress. This character usually serves in that role, but has, on one occasion, had to step up and lead the Empire itself when there is no one else.
Is this Gladiator?
Yes, it is Gladiator.
Okay.
So that brings you
Okay.
to 5 points, Fred. 5 points.
Is Gladiator's son a mutant?
Nope.
Oh, he just attends the school.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure does. Just goes to school there. Brings his bodyguard, Warbird. All right. Your bonus point. Your bonus question worth 1 point. There we go. What do these characters have in common?
Okay, so we've got Mr. Sinister, we've got Gladiator, and we have the middle one.
Karnak.
Karnak. Oh gosh, I have no idea what Karnak does. Uh-oh. That's going to be a problem. I have no clue what Karnak does. So what do Mr. Sinister and Gladiator have in common? Well, they both have flight, but I don't think that Karnak has flight. Because he doesn't have... You've said he has no powers. That all of his powers came from study. So he wouldn't have flight. So that's not what it is. They all have I don't know what Karnak has, but they have a weird token system that you have to manage to use them most effectively. That's what I'm going to say, because I have no idea what Karnak does.
Oh my god, Fred, that's correct.
Oh my god.
Karnak
has tokens?
Yeah, he has a weakness token. It's kind of like Drax's.
Oh, okay.
The putting it out is different, but you get extra dice when you make an attack against someone with a weakness token.
Wow. Okay.
That was absolutely right. When you said I didn't know what Karnak did, I was like, there's no way he's going to get this right. That was amazing, Fred. You deserve the win this week. You deserve it.
Yay. Okay. All right. Well then, thank you, Brad, for the trivia game today. Let's move right along. Is the next thing that we do discussing the character that we are here to? I think it is. That person being Maximus the Mad, and I'm pulling them up right now because I was a bad host who did not have this ready to go. All right, Maximus the Mad, otherwise known as Maximus Boltagon. His defenses are 2 physical, 3 energy, and 5 mystic. He has 6 stamina on both sides of his card. He is a 4 threat model. He has a size value of 2, and he has a movement speed of medium. Hey, Brad, why don't you do his attacks?
Both of his attacks are mystic. The first one is Brain Freeze. It's range 4 or 5 dice, cost 0. Gain net power equal to damage dealt. Wild Suppressive. After the attack is resolved, the target character loses 1 power for each wild in the attack roll. His other mystic attack, Neuro Annihilation. Range 3, 9 dice, cost 5. The defending character cannot add additional dice to its defense roll or modify its defense dice, which means you can't explode crits. Just making that clear. Wild Stagger. After this attack is resolved, the target character gains the Stagger special condition.
Okay, and hey, Brandon, why don't you do his leadership ability?
I don't see one. His leadership is Call Me Maximus the Magnificent. It's an Inhumans affiliated leadership. The first time each turn an allied character attacks or defends during the modified dice step, it must use this leadership. Reroll 1 of its attack or defense dice. If the rerolled result is a skull, after the attack is resolved, your opponent places the allied character within 1 of its current position, and this character gains 1 power.
This character meaning Maximus the Mad.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and Steven, why don't you finish out the card?
Okay, so we have an active superpower. It will cost you 2 power. Did you forget why you're here? Choose a character within 3 with an activated token. Advance that character short. This superpower can only be used once per turn. Next, we have a reactive power. It's Madness. My favorite kind will also cost you 2 power. When an enemy character within 3 of this character makes an attack during the modified dice step, this character may use this superpower. This character rerolls 2 of the attacking character's dice. He has the innate Inhuman. This character may reroll 1 die in its attack or defense rolls, and innately he is immune to poison.
Okay, that is Maximus the Mad's card. What is... All right, so... Brandon,
he has a tactics card.
Yes, we will cover the tactics card after we... I want to talk about the player card before we go in-depth on the tactics card. He has a leadership. This is the third. It's the second Inhuman with an on-person leadership ability that doesn't require a card, and his leadership is interesting. It's not. It's probably the worst one in Inhumans. Just to be a little bit. Like,
Oh, Fred.
do you disagree,
You
Brad?
are underestimating how bad this leadership is. This is the worst leadership in the game.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I think it's the second worst leadership in the game.
No,
After
because
Sin?
sometimes Sin does something. This
Sins
is.
doesn't work though. Like Sins functionally does not work.
I think I'd rather have a net 0 than a net negative.
I'll be frank. I think that Sins is worse than this. I think that Sins is worse than this because at the end of the day, you are getting a free reroll on your first attack and your first defense roll every activation.
So when you block everything on your dice, you're forced to reroll one of those blocks into something that's not a block.
Yep, that's true. It is far more likely that you don't block everything. Although it definitely is going to create situations. Hey, listen, I'm not defending this. This is a bad leadership. This leadership is
so bad. And then if that reroll ends up being a skull, like you're just off the point.
Your
now.
opponent. Yeah, your opponent places you within range 1, and then Maximus gains a power. It's weird. That's such a weird
so
effect.
bad.
It's very
so
fitting
weird.
for this character.
It is.
Yeah.
It does very much fit the character. It's so bad.
It is, yeah. My only debate is like because Sins just doesn't work. Like Sins leadership just does nothing. Like it does not like matter. Like it's such a bad like they like went out of their way to make Sins leadership bad. Like at least this one, like to what the point I believe Fred was trying to make, like you can at least use this to get an additional reroll. You can do this first. If you don't, the problem is if you hit a skull, then you can't Inhuman reroll, and you're just kind of double boned. But getting a second reroll gives you at least like a 12.5% chance.
That sounds right.
I think that and if you use this before your Inhuman reroll and you roll a skull on the Inhuman reroll, that does not push your model. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't trigger their leadership. Yeah.
So you have to specify which one it is.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of the day, you're getting a free reroll on the first attack and first defense roll with each character, each activation. That's worth something at the end of the day. I mean, there are leaderships that have to pay power to get a free not free to get a reroll, and
yeah, those are better.
I agree, they are better, but at least you're getting something here. I don't know why I'm defending this. I do think that this is a bad leadership.
It's a bad leadership.
Yeah. I guess I'm just playing the devil's advocate. Steven, what do you think about the leadership? We've been. It seems to have been the three of us talking about it.
I mean, it'd be really, really good if you took it up against people you can't re-roll into. So.
Yeah, so you mean like if you just don't use it?
Yeah, you wouldn't activate it at all. So
yeah, I get why you guys hate the effect. I think that he also has abilities that help him to get people back into position. He has a superpower on his card, which is a very good superpower. Any character, what's the range? Is it within range 3?
3. Yep.
Okay. Any character within range 3 of this guy, who has an activated token, he can move them short. Friendly or enemy. So, that can be fantastic. You can move enemies off of points, or you can move your people onto points. You can use this guy along with I forget what the tactics card is called, but the tactics card that we discussed earlier in the podcast, in order to move people back onto points that get moved off. Now, again, this is to fix the damage that his leadership has already done.
Yeah.
But assuming, like, it won't always do it. In fact, I would say only 1 in 8 times it will roll into a skull, his reroll.
I need to see your math on that one.
Okay. And I think that all the other times you're using these effects just to better your position in the game. What I am saying is that I think this character has play as a model. I think he has. You just never take him as a leader.
Yeah, that I wasn't even arguing. Don't take him.
Right,
He has a lot of good stuff. You wanted to know about his leadership.
I did start this off talking about that. Let's talk about some of the good stuff on this card.
It's everything else.
I think his attacks are great. I love that his builder is range 4. It's mystic, and it is suppressive, so it can help like pull power off of people.
Yeah, and that's after you dealt the damage. So I mean, if you did 5 damage to somebody and you have 3 wilds is kind of impossible sometimes, but it does happen.
It happens. Yeah.
You just take 3 power, so they don't get 5 power. You only get 2. So
that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I like his spender. Although it's a bit on the expensive side.
It is expensive. It's hard to do. It's worth it though.
It's real good. 9 dice is pretty strong, and then they don't get to blow up crits or modify their defense dice.
Pump their defense
Miles
first.
Morales. What?
Or pump their defense.
Right. Miles Morales hates this guy a lot. And then on top of that, if you roll a wild on those 9 dice, which is probably pretty likely, you're going to stagger them.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then there's also, he has a generally excellent, useful, defensive, reactive superpower where he can make enemies re-roll 2 of their dice if during the modified dice step if they're within range 3 of him. And they don't have to be targeting him.
Yeah. This is that's really good timing too. Like
because you can see what they rolled before you do pay the cost for it.
Yeah.
You know what? I just figured out who this was in the game. Do you know who this is?
Who is this?
This is the improved version of Mr. Sinister.
Huh. He does have a lot of crossover with Mr. Sinister. Like the ability to move people.
He's manipulating the battlefield. What does Sinister do? He manipulates, or he's supposed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This guy. Well, that is exactly a correct assessment of what this guy is doing. He is manipulating the battlefield. Was that Brandon? Brandon, do you have thoughts?
I think that's legitimately one of the best superpowers in the entire game. We lived in a world for a while where people played Crimson Dynamos specifically for a worse version of that superpower. Like, obviously, it wasn't the only reason, but like, one of the big reasons.
Some people played it as if it was this version of the superpower.
Yeah, and as that person, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
like, it's just like it's. I don't think, like, realizing that you don't even have to be targeted, and he's someone who wants to be away from people. Being able to just be like, reroll 2 of your successes.
Yeah.
Is so incredibly good. And being able to choose when you want to do it.
Yes. Yeah, after you see the dice. That's the important thing. You can use this after you see what they've rolled. So you can see they got 5 successes and you rolled 2 defense. You can make them re-roll 2 of those, and in all likelihood, you're going to reduce the amount of damage that's coming in.
And you, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but you choosing to reroll your opponent's dice on defense, on when you're defending, is the last step in modified dice.
Let's see. Attacker rerolls, defender rerolls, attacker rerolls defender's dice, defender rerolls attacker's dice. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the last step, so they can't do anything after you've rerolled their dice.
Oh, pray to God he doesn't come into a team with Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, no one plays Amazing Spider-Man, unfortunately. So
with Witty Bander and this.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, like Maximus, like you just ignore the leadership. Like this is a really good character. Like the 2 physical defense is scary, but at least being outside of range 4, like range 4 and range 3 is relevant. He can, if you're attacking him, he can try to force you to reroll it. Inhumans do get power. All the Inhuman characters have expensive spenders. Like I don't think there's a single one that doesn't. Like Medusa's is like 6 or 7. Whisper's 6. This is 5. And then I think Karnak and Gorgons are both kind of expensive that came out that are also coming in this. Plus the new.
That's probably on purpose. That seems like it's on purpose now.
Yeah, so like they're all pretty expensive. Even new Black Bolt, like I think the cheapest one they have is like 4. So like they get power really easily. Like the Black Bolt's leadership gives them power, Lockjaw gives them power. I think they also recognize that Wong is usually the 2-point that's played with this affiliation who can just give power away for free. So like they get power.
I think Wong's gonna see less play, but we haven't got to the reason why yet. Join us in a couple weeks.
So like there's a lot of positive, like I said, it's Madness, my favorite kind, is like I would put that up there as one of the best leaderships in the game. Being able to advance someone off a point who cannot get back on the point, or advance someone on a point after they've activated.
I would like to correct something you said. You called it a leadership. His leadership is terrible, but you meant a superpower. His superpower. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm everything I'm evaluating is pretending that leadership's not on this card. I'm not gonna acknowledge it. I'm not giving him a grade based on it. Like everything is based that doesn't exist because it doesn't. It's not relevant. Like he is not worse because he has that line of text. If you just remove that and he was still this exact character, he's still a good 4 threat. He's still doing a lot of stuff that you want. He brings mystic attacks to Inhumans that didn't have it before. Technically,
do they have no mystic attacks?
Who?
I have no idea.
Inhumans?
No, this is the first.
This is
before this box they had none. And I believe he's the only one even in this box.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they don't have any other missing attacks. So like he brings a lot to this affiliation. Like he's gonna see a lot of play under like the other 2 leaderships. Like you're not playing his leadership, but like he's gonna see a lot of play as probably the second 4 threat. He's definitely. I thought maybe he's the second 4 threat in affiliation. He's better than Ronin. Is there another one, or is it just those 3?
Medusa, Ronin.
Yeah, Medusa's the best. You're taking her first.
Right.
Yeah. But there's like a legitimate argument you can make to take, in certain scenarios, to take Maximus over Medusa, which would be tough, but like that's something you could arguably make. Medusa's nerf was really damning to that model. I wish they would just kind of undo it because I think it would be fine now, with the level of characters that they've made. But I think Maximus is in a really good spot to see a lot of play in Inhumans, which last time I looked were like number 3 in win percentage on Longshanks.
Whoa. Huh.
So,
is that just because they are a faction that is played specifically by people who are good at the game? Like, there's a bias there that people aren't choosing them who don't know what they're doing.
I don't think new players are playing Inhumans as much, so that's definitely going to help. Like that's a legitimate thing. Like there's a reason Avengers and Cabal and stuff are always kind of held down. They are actually 5th now, so they've fallen a little bit. I mean, they're still at 54% win percentage. Fun fact: Medusa's leadership is undefeated on Long Shanks.
Does it have games?
Yeah, there's 3 of them. They're
Okay.
3-0. Maximus is 5-3. So, like they're just really good, and now they have a great 5 threat, 2 really good 4 threats, 2 really good 3 threats, one of the best utility 3 threats, and a good 6 threat. Like they have a really good arsenal and an affiliation that someone on this podcast specifically would never want that to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about this guy's tactics card before we give him a letter grade. That tactics card is called Plots Within Plots. It is an unaffiliated reactive tactics card. During the power phase, Maximus the Mad may spend 4 power to play this card. Until the next cleanup phase, once per turn, when an enemy character ends a movement within range 2 of an allied character, after the effect is resolved, an allied character not within range 2 of the enemy character may advance short. I think this is really solid. It is yet another way that Maximus can manipulate the battlefield, can move people around out of their activations. It is expensive for 4 power, but I bet it is going to be very... It will move your people around quite a bit and get them where they need to be in order to best affect the battlefield. What do you guys think about this one? Steven, what are your thoughts here on Plots Within Plots?
Well, free movement for your other... I mean, it does cost 4, but, until the next cleanup phase. I love these powers. I love Mysterio until, it doesn't... Even if you daze him, this still is going on. So,
yeah, that's true. Brad, what are your thoughts on this tactics card?
I mean, it's good. Like 4 powers a lot. Maximus has a lot of good stuff to spend his power on, like his 2 superpowers and his spender if you ever get enough. So I think it's just hard to like find the time to play it. Like picking it for the game and then picking a time to play it in the game are going to be hard. But I think you're going to get benefit from it. It's good.
It is good. But you're right, and especially in an affiliation with a bunch of good tactics cards, as will be stated by Brandon. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. It's the same as the other ones. I mean, they do. They haven't given them a bad tactics card. None of the characters have a bad tactics card. Like this one's right in there. I do agree, unfortunately, with Fred. Like I've been like toying around with Inhumans list since the Gorgon and Karnak got spoiled. And this one never makes it. Like I have 12 in the list right now, and that it's not in there. It's gonna be hard to take it in your 10 because he wants to just kind of sit on a back point, throw range 4 attacks, and force your opponent to reroll dice. And then if you have extra power at any point, then he's gonna attack. He's gonna move someone off a point, and then he's gonna have the rerolls just ready for the next round. Like he's gonna help keep. As much as he may not like it, he's going to help keep Black Bolt alive. He's going to help keep Medusa alive.
Well, I would say for this card, it's probably best with the 5-point Black Bolt, because if you get to move him within a bodyguard range, that could be devastating.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like, especially like Maximus is in like being in this affiliation and having Gorgon and Black Bolt 5 threat available to just make sure you don't take any physical attacks because both of them can take physical attacks a lot. Like they want to be the ones like they're each rolling at least 4 with rerolls. They want to be taking physical attacks, so like you can very much kind of protect Maximus and make sure he's not taking it. With Black Bolt having, he has good bodyguard, right? And then Gorgon has bad
Yeah.
bodyguard. Yeah.
Correct.
And then even Black Bolt, also his anti-gravitational field that adds 2 dice to defense. He can kind of help protect Maximus. So like this is a scenario where you have that 2/3 defense, which is unfortunate, but like you're in the right affiliation because you have the inhuman reroll. You can force your attacker to reroll 2 dice. You have 2 bodyguards that you're going to be playing a ton, and you have a leadership that's probably still going to be the most dominant leadership, allowing that character also having bodyguard and able to pump up your defense dice. So he kind of like gets flawed away from that weakness. I think I just don't know where the tactics card fits in. When we get to other characters, we'll find out that there are just more tactics cards that are also just good. I think this one, I think unfortunately this one kind of falls off, but like I think this is like, it's obviously a more expensive dimensional Quagmire that we saw on Man Thing, but I definitely think we're seeing a lot more tactics cards with movements out of like activations, which is interesting. Because that was something they kind of seemed to want to take away from the game early on.
They took away the ones that are not faction specific.
God, Man Things
Ubiquitous
is
is the word you're looking for.
Yes, yes.
neither one of these have to be in affiliation.
Do
Quagmire,
they not?
Quagmire
Well,
doesn't.
they're-
Neither does Maximus.
But they're tied to a
They both
character.
require. Yeah, they both require a specific character.
Yeah, but they're not super expensive characters that you don't have to like. Splashing a 4 is not the end of the world. Anyway, it's just that's like an oddity that it's just kind of weird that they decided like they wanted to bring that back in the game, or bring it into the game. I enjoy that. I think out of activation movements are important, and I think it's makes you play. It makes you be paying attention the entire game instead of being like, well, I just do A into B. Well, if something happens, I can skip to D. Like you have to be kind of on your toes the entire game. Something me and Fred talked about when we played last week, in between the 2 games, and then after the second game we played is kind of there were a couple of times that both of us were kind of in situations where we're like, well, we're going to do this no matter what, when it doesn't really work that way. We're really getting to a point where like that's never gonna. It's gonna be very rare where you're like, well, this is what I'm doing next, no matter what. Because there's so many things that can come into play.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that is Maximus the Mad. Hey, we've got to give this guy a letter grade. So, as we've discussed, his leadership, a bad leadership. That is the only bad thing on this card. Everything else on this card is very good. I mean, 2 physical defense is bad also, but like Brandon brought up, there are lots of ways to mitigate that. I think this guy rocks. I think he's very good. I'm gonna give him a solid A. Solid A. Brad, what do you give this Inhuman?
Not an A. Maximus has always been an interesting character in the comics. I think they did a great job capturing him as a character in the game. I do think he's got a lot of great tools. And in faction, if I only looking in faction, I'd probably give him a bit of higher grade, but I'm gonna completely in a vacuum give him a B.
A B, okay.
Yeah.
Steven, what do you want to give to Maximus the Mad?
I'm at a B plus.
A B
'Cause-
plus, okay.
Those 2 superpowers are really, really good.
Yeah, they really are. And Brandon, what are you gonna give to Maximus the Mad?
I think we might do some. All right. So my big thing is I want to kind of talk on. So like Brad stated that he thinks like in Inhumans like he's better like outside of it. Like a Mystic 4 threat, you're like he's right there with Voodoo, and there are a lot of cases you're going to take him over Voodoo. This superpower is extremely good. Like there's going to be a lot of places this character is going to see play, and you're just using it for a Mystic attack and this superpower to force your opponent to reroll dice at the end of their um, step. Like as someone who has used this superpower before, for a couple games, it is very, very good, and it is. They are not on the podcast today, but I can get a quote that it is fucking broken from someone that I used it against multiple times because it feels very bad. Forcing your opponent to reroll triggers, forcing your opponent to, like, if you can take 2 and you remove a trigger and maybe even a damage, like, for 2 power, you're doing that every single time. This character is going to see play outside of his affiliation. I just think he's even more amazing inside of his affiliation. I don't like agreeing with Fred, but
The problem outside his affiliation is that 2 defense becomes more of a liability.
yeah, it does. But it's still not like the end of the world. Like there are characters that, I mean, 2 in a reroll is very similar to 3 without a reroll, statistically wise. So
It's close, yeah.
it's yeah.
What are you
So
talking about? I run Mysterio all the time, and he only has 1 physical defense.
Yeah, that's a little different.
yeah. Oh, if he had an ability like Mysterio and like Ebony, is it Ebony Maw that has one?
Or
Yep.
Enchantress.
Enchantress.
Enchantress or Magneto.
Enchantress. Yeah.
Magneto
So like
too.
if they have, God, if they had one of those, like this character would be too much. But like the fact that he has a range 4 attack, like I have playing Midnight Suns, I have a very good Mystic 4 threat in affiliation. Like I'm very adamantly considering playing Maximus the Mad because being outside of range 3, being able to brain freeze, attack twice, and being able to bump in, and get within 3 to make sure you still are in the bubble for rerolls. And when you're splashing this character, if they're attacking Maximus, like in that scenario, if they're attacking Maximus in a scenario where they, like at 15, if I played like Maximus, Blade, Immortal Hulk, if they're attacking Maximus at any point in time during that game, that's a win for me. Doesn't matter when it is. If they make even one attack, that is a positive because that attack's not going into Blade or Immortal Hulk. I just I think this character is going to see play in a bunch of places, and I think he's really good. So I do agree with Fred. I think the Tactics card's not great, but I think it can get use in other affiliations more so than you're going to see it in Inhumans, just because for whatever reason Inhumans just have a great slate of like 8 Tactics cards that they get.
So your final grade is
That I agree
an
with
A?
you, Fred. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our discussion on Maximus the Mad. Hey, Brad, do you have
Yes.
any comic books that feature this weirdo?
I do. So, Inhumans, as listeners of the podcast probably know, are not really my wheelhouse. But I do have some recommendations anyway. So, the first one is Fantastic Four issues 47 and 48. This is from the original series. It's Stanley and Jack Kirby. This is Maximus's first appearance. Maximus has created the Atmo gun, which will surely destroy all humans and leave Inhumans the inheritor of the world. Can the Fantastic Four and the Inhuman royal family stop Black Bolt's brother in time? The answer is no.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they don't stop him in time.
So he eliminates all humans?
Do you think
And
that's how
allows
the
the
story
evil
ends, Fred?
I'm sure that it is. That is exactly how
Okay.
that story ends.
So if you want to...
Brad's just commonly giving away all of the information in his recaps of comics.
Also, 48, the second issue of the story. So back then, what they would do is like they'd resolve a story like partway through an issue and then start the next story to get you hooked to read the next issue. So most of the way through 48, you see the Silver Surfer and then Galactus for the first time, and then that becomes a big deal in the next couple issues. So 48's also the first appearance of Galactus, second appearance of Maximus. I thought that was neat too. All right. Next on my list of Maximus comics is Silent War. This is by David Hine and Fraser Irving. The Inhumans have declared war on America to get back the Terrigen crystals. All-out battle has exploded between the two sides with attacks coming from all angles. But is this a clever plan by Maximus working behind the scenes to manipulate events? The answer is yes.
Are we finding out that Maximus the Mad is regularly succeeding in his plans?
I didn't say he succeeded this time. I just said it was a plan.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. So, yeah, Maximus is behind this whole thing. Read the story. Next, Realm of Kings Inhumans. This is Dan Abnett, Fred's favorite,
Hey.
Andy Lanning, and Pablo Raimondi. With Black Bolt missing after fighting Vulcan, that's Cyclops' brother. Do you remember him?
Yes, we went through him last episode.
Yep.
Quite a bit.
Medusa has taken over as leader of the Inhumans and the Kree Empire. Politics are getting strained, and it's getting harder to juggle everything, but luckily Medusa has an ally that's good at that kind of thing. Fred, do you have a guess who that could be?
The ally who's good
At politics? Yeah.
Who
And
in the Kree Empire?
in the Inhumans, Fred.
Just in general.
It's probably the master manipulator, Maximus the Mad.
Yeah, very good, Brandon. You're much quicker on the uptake than Fred. He offers to help, and he's I've not mentioned this yet. He's in love with Medusa, his sister-in-law, because he is Black Bolt's brother. So he offers to help, but are his intentions entirely noble? The answer is no. No, they are not.
Spoiler, they never are.
No. So Maximus is interesting because, like, he's not fully a bad guy, but he's definitely not a good guy. So he's kind
He's
of
literally just Loki.
He is very similar to Loki as a character. So he's kind of like playing both sides at all times.
Oh, he's a spider foe?
You can never trust him.
No, you can't trust him, but sometimes he's doing stuff for the Inhumans' best interest, or at least what he thinks is.
He does not hate his race.
No, he's not a
like
race
Beast.
trader.
And he is in a situation that Black Bolt can kill him at any given time.
That is true. That's true.
Just
Boy,
by whispering at him?
Yep.
To be fair, though, he can kill anybody at pretty much any given time.
That's
Right.
very accurate.
Okay, Brad. Well, thank you for your comic book recommendations. Hey, Brandon, what affiliation do you think Maximus the Mad would really shine that is not the Inhumans?
I kind of said it a little bit earlier. I think he can shine anywhere that needs a mystic attack, anywhere that's playing attrition. An advantage when you're playing attrition is that you want mystic attacks. Those coming on a body that keeps your people alive, and can sit at a point at somewhat of distance. Like if you're on Gamma, you can sit on the back home. You're still making attacks on the center line. You're still protecting your models on the center line. And most attrition teams, when you're playing like Gamma, most of those attacks are range 2 anyway. So you're kind of out of the fire, and you can kind of protect them. So honestly, just generally anywhere they can play attrition. I do really like him in Hellfire Club a lot. Something you have forgotten about is that I never got to talk about Gladiator.
Hey, that's right. I never called on you. Hey, Brandon, What's your take on Gladiator?
So I tried to make that quick so I could. I think Gladiator is so like I don't think he's great, but like when you really break it down and like you look at other six threats, um, there's not. So like obviously Thanos doesn't count as a sixth threat. Like you're not playing him as a sixth threat. Um, and then you're looking at the other six threats, and it's Apocalypse, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Gladiator, Hulk, Hulkbuster, the new Black Bolt, Magneto, She-Hulk, and Thor, Hero of Midgard. Like him, he's kind of right exactly. I think him and Apocalypse are like kind of going to be what sixes are going forward, and I think that's a really good place. I think the problem is there are Thor Hero of Midgard exists and Hulk 1 exists. So like you always want your sixes to kind of be on that level, and it's not really fair. Same thing, Cosmic Ghost Rider before his nerf was definitely on that level. I think he is now with Apocalypse and Gladiator as kind of like probably the bar of what sixes are going to be. So I don't think that's a bad thing in any way. The biggest downside is that he can gain 3 of his tokens a turn, and if your opponent is playing 4 to like 6 characters, which is normal, they have 8 to 12 chances to take those tokens off of him. But I think I mean, having 2 less health than Hulk is relevant. His biggest flaw is he doesn't have an affiliation, so I think it's going to be hard because you're really, if you want a sixth threat, like you're really choosing to take him over Thor, Hero of Midgard, or Hulk, and that's really tough.
Okay. So what is the letter grade that you were going to give to Gladiator?
I think he's like a B plus, just because in a vacuum, like he is good. If you want to play him, you can play him, and you can be good with like he's gonna be fine. It's just his biggest flaw is the fact that there's a Hulk and a Thor Hero of Midgard exist, and he cannot play in an affiliation. So like other sixes that aren't as good, you're like, well, this one's affiliated, so that helps, or that they have tactics cards that are in affiliation, like that also helps. Like he doesn't bring any of that to the table.
Right. Okay. I do want to bring up one thing. An affiliate, and that is an affiliation for Maximus the Mad. We kind of drifted away from that, but I want to bring it back to that real quick. I was thinking about him in Web Warriors, because what better way to defend better than also re-roll your opponent's successes?
Yeah, I mean, I played Crimson Dynamo. Crimson Dynamo, when you did that reroll, is amazing. When I played Kingpin, so like he's definitely someone when you're trying to keep people alive. Like that ability is amazing, and it's going to keep people alive. Like I think Web Warriors, the hardest part would be that you have a lot of good 4s, so it'd be kind of hard to splash a 4. But like I think this character does enough that like you're gonna not feel bad about splashing him, and even when you have like good affiliated 4s, like because he brings something, especially for Web Warriors, that they don't have. Like they don't have mystic attacks, and they don't have this ability. So like Miles being able to reroll 2, reroll leadership, and then reroll, and then force your opponent to reroll 2 dice. Like you can really keep people alive. And range 4 attacks can keep him on a point and still impact a good portion of the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Well, so that means the only thing that's left is my non sequitur recommendation. So, I know nothing about this character, Maximus the Mad. I knew nothing at all. So what I just did is I'm going to talk about a game that I am playing now. This video game came out actually this week. It is the sequel to Citizen Sleeper, the fantastic narrative. Oh boy, how to describe this? It is a sci-fi narrative story where you are trying to navigate life in a post-apocalyptic sci-fi realm. And you are a robot whose body is constantly falling apart, and you have to do everything that you can to stay alive. That is, I think I've already recommended Citizen Sleeper 1. This is Citizen Sleeper 2, and it is excellent.
Fred,
It keeps up... Oh...
Go ahead, finish.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish.
It keeps up the feeling, the strong narrative and and personal interconnection storytelling of the first game while iterating on the gameplay quite a bit. All right, Brad, what were you going to say?
I was really hoping that you had looked up who the actor was from the TV show and were going to tell us your favorite thing he was in. Because it's...
I don't have any idea. Like, I forget that the Inhumans have a TV show.
Yeah, it's Ewan Rowan. Rian? I don't know how to say his name. He's Welsh? He's Welsh, I think. He's the guy that played Ramsay Snow on...
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So he's a really good actor.
He really is.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to give us something by him, but I guess not.
Oh, well, I didn't even think about the Inhumans TV show.
You shouldn't. It was bad. It was awful.
All right. Well, that will be it for our show today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for everyone who is out there listening for tuning in. I hope that everyone out there has a wonderful rest of the week. Goodbye.